I have been reading up on this short film that you guys are doing right now, and I had no idea that there was a whole school involved with this short film.
Yeah, it certainly is. Pretty much the best school in the business for visual effects.
So this school, they're turning out the people that we see doing most of the 3D effects and visual effects that we see in big budget films right now. Like I was reading that some of the people who are still in school at this institution have worked on films like Green Lantern.
Yes, that's correct. Most of the students, they usually start working after they graduate, but some do get some jobs even before they finish. But yeah, within about a month, you have the vast majority of students getting employment in the industry.
And this is Minnie that I'm talking to right now, right?
This is Manny, that's right, yeah.
Okay, Minnie, so are you one of the instructors at the school also?
I'm a resident director of sorts, which Shane was as well during the production of Plus Minus. And what I do is I'm a director at a branch of the Gnomon school called Gnomon Studios. And what Gnomon Studios is an original content creation kind of wing of the Gnomon school. So what we do here is we have a studio space, and we bring in like the best students, students who apply and get approved to work on original productions based on their work so far at the school, and they basically are able to have a real-world production experience by working with a director who's worked in the industry to create an original production with actual deadlines and everything that's associated with true production. So.
Okay, so we're talking about like your crack team of animators. We're talking about like the X-Men of your animators, right? And you're like the Professor Xavier of these people.
Well, there's amazing talent, that's for sure, like at Gnomon, and we get to use some of the best talent because they have to pass a pretty rigorous kind of screening, like you would at any facility. They apply with their demo reels and so on, and then the best are accepted into the program. So I guess they are the best of the best.
Nice, and that must be really special for these students to be working on this production right here, because the short that we're talking about is Plus Minus, and as of right now, this is just a short. This isn't being planned. Is this being planned for a feature later on down the line? Because Shane, I know that your film 9 started out as a short film, and did it win an Academy Award?
It won a Student Academy Award, and it was up for an Academy Award. It was nominated, but I did not win the actual short film category for the Academy Award.
But you got to go to the ceremony, right? Got to probably eat at the buffet and all that kind of stuff?
I did. Okay. I did, which was really a great experience, really cool experience. Kind of felt like a kid that kind of wandered into the back door off the street. It was a little surreal, but it was really cool to be there.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm saying a lot of these students must feel really proud and just special to work on this project, because 9 got moved up to a feature production, and that featured a lot of top talent like Jennifer Connelly and Martin Landau. I mean, I remember that was actually 2009 that it came out, right?
That's right. That's correct. Yeah. Well, what I like about this experience that I've had over there at Gnomon is that you never know where these films are going to go. You do them because you love to make films and you love to take risks and try different things. And I think that's what's great about a short film format. Is that you're able to take risks and try different things and tell stories in different ways and push the medium of animation in ways that you couldn't if you were just to set out to make a feature film. So I have no idea where this short film will end up. But that's part of the fun is let's get in and let's try something different. And it's great working with students because they have fresh ideas, they have a new perspective because they're coming at it from their experiences and not from experience of being sort of working in the Hollywood system, things like that, which can change your point of view, and you kind of accept a standardized way of working and thinking. And so that's why it was a really exciting opportunity for me to go to the school and to work intimately with the students and develop this project and this film, and really let it be an organic thing, let it grow from, not only, it was my original idea, but then you work with the students and the other artists who are participating, and, you all come together and kind of see where the film wants to go and just let it evolve, which is always a great experience.
So as of right now, there's no plans for it to go into a feature film, but if it does happen like with 9, then that's even better.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? It was intended to be a short film and a complete short film, and there's a complete story, but it's kind of a simple film. It's a little character study piece. It has an arc, it definitely has a beginning and middle end, but it is suggesting, again, like 9, a glimpse into a much larger world that could easily be expanded into something of a longer format. So
one of you guys want to explain what the short film is about? I've seen the trailer for it, and it looks really cool, but it was just a teaser. It's funny because it's a teaser for a short film. They got trailers for short movies now, but I didn't really get what the story was since it was a teaser. So what is this about?
Well, yeah, and a part of doing the teaser is that unfortunately I was at Gnomon for about a year and a half working on the short with the students, and then I was working as an artist in residence, and then a few other projects that I was developing on the side have picked some steam, and so my attention to the short over Plus Minus has been pulled away. I've been sort of preoccupied with a few other projects, and so that teaser was a way of us kind of collecting where we are and putting it into a little showpiece that we can get out there and show the world, and also just a way to really show off the extraordinary work that the students have done, because the project right now is on a bit of a hiatus as I'm sort of pulled off to do other things, but we wanted to really show the world what these students are capable of and give them a small taste of this film that we're creating over there. And so that was probably more of the impetus to get the teaser out than to really explain the film and the story. It's just kind of a small little, it's a teaser, right? And it's good. It's supposed to make you want to ask those questions like, what is this story about? What is this film? What is this world? And that's kind of, I think it's doing that.
So do you not want to tell what the story is because you want people to just kind of be intrigued by the teaser and go and watch it for themselves?
Yeah, there's a big part of me that doesn't want to explain too much because, like I said before, it is a sort of a simple film, and I think the power of it is going to be in the telling and the discovery and the way you kind of figure out what's happening through the experience of watching the film. And so I am a little reluctant to go too much, into too much detail about the story. Not to sort of completely let you down, but
no, it was just funny because I said, "Hey, what is this short about?" And you're like, "Well, you see, the students do this because it's a good thing." And I was like, "Man, he's not going to tell me this story." He's
the runaround.
I know. No, I was like, you can tell me to shut the hell up. You don't have to give me the long version and the runaround,
Well, I think the teaser focuses on these secondary little characters that exist down below this giant pillar. And it's actually the story, the main heart and bulk of the story focuses on the two characters that are at the top of the pillar, which we don't really show very much about. So it makes sense that the teaser is a little bit confusing and you don't really understand the narrative. But I think, the film, it will come full circle around and back to these secondary characters at the bottom in the final act, and it all kind of makes sense and ties together.
Okay. Hey, Minnie, let me ask you something. Yeah. When you get these, when you're choosing your staff of students to work on a top-tier project, what is it in that demo reel or portfolio or whatever that they submit that you're looking for before you choose them?
Well, there's a couple of things. First, we're looking for specific talents that will pertain to the work coming up in the upcoming term, because the film production is broken up into several terms, in this case, there's like 5 terms, and in each term, the work would be different. Like at the beginning, the first couple of terms, it's modeling and texturing. Then it'll go into animation, and then it'll go into effects and visual effects and rendering and so on. So, for example, for the first term or the first couple of terms, we'd be looking for students with strength in modeling and texturing. So we'd be looking for those skills in the work. So we're looking for people who can model with great efficiency. We'd like to see how their wireframes look so they understand how to build objects that can be rigged and animated properly and so on. And generally we're looking for students which have just a really strong core artistic skill set and also just a really strong attitude, a positive attitude, and just those combination of things, and which include both a review of their reel and a personal interview, would help us decide whether they're a good candidate for the studio.
And how many submissions do you get? Like for example, right now, what is the total number of the student body of the school?
I don't know what the student body. Hold on, let me ask Ashley. Hey, Ashley, how many people are at Gnomon right now?
She's like, you're supposed to know that.
No, I don't know that. but
no, well, I mean, I think it's important to note that the school is separate from the Gnomon Studio where the short films are being created.
Okay.
It's almost like it's a little incubated studio. That's a little bit, it's in the larger Gnomon complex, but it's a little bit off of the school, so it's separate.
Okay, I guess that's why I'm wondering what the ranks are like there, because so you have the school that's separate from the studios. You have Gnomon Studios, which is separate from the institution, but then within the studios itself, do you still have to choose like a select group of students to work on a particular project, or separate these students based on their strengths, depending on what the project is?
Yeah, well, basically, for example, for the project that I'm currently directing now, what we're doing is we're looking for students which have already completed a certain number of terms, so that they've got a certain amount of experience and capabilities under their belt. And so we cut off like a couple of terms right there. And so we're dealing with like a smaller percentage of the entire student body when we're recruiting candidates for the studio. Okay.
Now, it sounds like the studio itself is primarily a 3D studio, like as in 3D animation. Like you model, you have to do textures and all that. Now, does the school teach anything outside of 3D animation?
It teaches quite a bit. It teaches sculpture. It teaches 3D animation, modeling, texturing, storyboarding, lighting.
2D animation?
Traditional classes. I believe there's some 2D animation as well. I'm not sure about that, but there certainly is life drawing and traditional drawing classes.
Okay.
There's also live action as well. So there's quite a wide array of kind of classes that deal directly with visual effects or tangentially are involved with visual effects or related fields. So you get a really deep breadth of the art form of visual effects and the core skill sets that are needed beyond just knowing how to operate the software in the computers.
Okay, I would just wanted I want to ask that question because right now you just broke a lot of Flash animators' hearts because they were all getting excited right now. Man, I'm gonna go work at Gnomon Studios, and it's like, nope, no Flash animators need to apply there. It sounds like.
I believe they don't. I could be wrong at this because this isn't an indicative of the fact that I'm at Gnomon Studios. But I don't know exactly what all the courses are. I know quite a bit of them, but not all of them.
Well,
but I know there are a lot of 2D focused courses.
Yeah, I'm talking about for the studios itself, though, not for the school.
Oh, I see. Yeah, for the studios, it's primarily three-dimensional animation. However, there is also live action involved. There was a project here which was a live action and visual effects job. There are, and then there's 3D encompasses so much and so many different disciplines. Beyond modeling and texturing, animation, lighting, live action, and animated, motion. There's quite a bit there's quite a wide range of things to do. There's some students here which specialize just in like visual effects, like smoke and explosions and so on. Others specialize in animation and also in our first term, it was our entire team was a 2D concept team. So where we basically did mostly illustrations and paintings in the first term, where we conceived all of the designs, characters, vehicles, environments, and so on. Were all done in 2D.
Yeah, and you see that done a lot at a lot of studios. I mean, whenever you watch a Blu-ray behind the scenes for one of the Disney animated 3D features or Pixar, all their stuff is done conceptually in 2D, or a lot of it's done in 2D also. So there's still work on that level being done there. Hey, Shane, what's that? I'm sorry?
I just said absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, Shane, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Now, were you one of those people who was waiting on the rapture?
Pardon me?
Oh, were you waiting on the rapture? And I'm not talking about like waiting to go off somewhere in the heaven or anything like that. You impressed me as one of those people who's waiting for the apocalypse to happen, and you couldn't be happier when it does.
No, quite the opposite.
Really? Okay.
I'm happy to be here without any craziness happening yet.
Okay, because I was looking at 9, and now I'm looking at this, and there's a lot of your work seems to have an apocalyptic theme to it.
Yeah, I guess this particular project, I'm using hell as a metaphor for a place in which a particular experience I had took place, and I think there's a lot of this film is a way of reinterpreting an experience that I had, but an experience I had here on Earth. So it's like more of a pure artistic piece than I don't know, an entertainment piece. It really is. I think of it as kind of being like a sculpture almost. It's like a sculptural piece. It's like a little moment in time. It's a metaphor for an experience that I had.
Okay, so the film's kind of personal for you too.
What's that?
I said the film's kind of personal for you too. Then
it is. It is personal. Yeah. And it was a way of me taking an experience and reinterpreting it in a way that was creative. It was a creative outlet for me in some way, which I think is why I do a lot of the work I do is that where I have a particular view and a taste and a style, but a lot of it's sort of a reinterpretation of my experiences and my philosophy in some way.
What are you able to? And I know this is personal, but are you able to at least kind of say what this experience was that had an influence on this show?
Well, yeah. I mean, this plus minus is really it's this struggle between commerce and art, between the artist and the businessman and the producer, the one who's taking the artist's work and sort of reusing it to a commercial end, and the kind of struggle and friction that happens between those two individuals. So it's a kind of a conversation or a misconversation, and where one has the vision and the other one has sort of the power. And so that's what these two characters. It's kind of this miscommunication and the struggle between these two characters who are both trying to achieve a similar goal, but they can never quite, they can never communicate in a way that's clear, and so it ends up being their own demise some way. And so, it takes place in hell, and I've taken these two characters and I've made them demons that are in this infinite cycle of miscommunication. But for me, it's just taking one experience I had and then filtering it through my own artistic inclinations, and then creating a little narrative out of it, in a different world, and it happens to take place in hell.
Now, these two characters, these two characters wouldn't happen to be you and Tim Burton, would it?
No,
okay.
not at all.
Okay.
Tim and I are of the same ilk, but I think it's a question. It's something that every artist at one point has to face and struggles with. I think Manny's had similar experiences. And it's just, it's personal. It's my interpretation of that.
Yeah.
So it's taking something that was the bad experience, or really, it was in a lot of ways it was a good experience because it really opened my eyes, and now I'm a stronger person for it. I know how to deal with it. But it's taking that experience and it's a way of reinterpreting it through my own filter, so that it's something that is ultimately positive and creative.
Well, I was kind of joking around there, and I didn't mean to make light of your situation, but I mean, one would come to expect from like knowing your history and then seeing you make this piece about commerce versus art. I mean, you did your short film 9, and then you got a lot of praise for it. Got nominated for Academy Award, won Student Academy Award, and then you went off and worked with a big studio, worked with big producers to make the feature length of 9. And then right after coming out of that, one would just kind of guess that maybe your experience with the studios working on a big budget feature film, maybe you had some problems there, or some eye openers, or it wasn't everything you thought it would be.
Yes, maybe I did. Maybe I did.
All right. So this is kind of what the result of all that anguish that you had working on that film.
Yeah. Well, that's a part of it. Yeah. And then it's also a marriage of other ideas that I've had. Like I said, it kind of stems from a sculptural piece that I, instead of making a sculpture, I've interpreted into a short film as well. So, as an artist, you're constantly assimilating, and you're building things, and you're telling stories that I think all the stories have something to do with your own experiences. And so, like I said, it's kind of more of a pure artistic endeavor, and it's experimental, the short film.
Yeah.
And that's what's so great. I love to have, I'm out there in Hollywood, pitching projects, selling projects, putting things together. And at the same time, I like this little creative space where you can kind of do something that's more true to your art, you as an artist. If that makes any sense.
I'm glad I wasn't there in person in front of you when I asked that question, because you got mean about it. You're like, yeah, maybe I did. What you gonna do about it? And I was like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you mad. Sorry.
No, it's all
I know I'm messing with you, but given that you're doing this and you're saying that you had some lessons learned from working on 9. I mean, you obviously want to work on another film, and I think you are working on another feature film, if I'm correct. If I read correctly, you're working on something that's a little sweeter, not so apocalyptic. You're going to be working on Thomas the Train, or what?
Yes.
Which is
Thomas the Tank Engine.
Thomas the Tank Engine, yes. Which is which was a show for preschoolers, right?
It didn't start that way. Actually, it was a series of books written by the Reverend Audrey, like 60 some odd years ago, actually. And there were stories that he told his son when his son was deathly ill. And there were stories that sort of kept his son going, and in the end, the son recovered from his illness and encouraged his father to write these books about these stories that the father was basically making up, because they lived near a train yard. And then the father went into books, and then those books became highly popular, and then they led to like a popular television show and things like that. So when we're looking at developing this film, we're kind of going back to the source and looking at the root, like the core, where all these stories came from. And I think what's mostly known is the television show that's mostly for toddlers or young children. But we're going back to the kind of where it came from and expanding from there, so that we're kind of aging it up and making it more for a family type audience. It's not purely for preschoolers.
Okay. I'm about to wrap this interview up, but I got a couple of interesting questions, though. First, this is for you, Shane. Now that you're going back into working on a feature-length film, and you talked about there was some lessons learned from working on 9, what is it that you're going to do different on this particular film that you learned from the past from working on a feature film?
No, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, a lot of that stuff is just sort of ingrained in you. I think there's definitely some scheduling things that, I'm being adamant about making sure there's enough time for proper pre-production, to kind of really get the script in good shape before you go off and start making it. The problem is if you go off too early, then the rest of the time you're you're running to catch up. And once you're in production, it's a madhouse, and everything's moving so quickly. Your story isn't sound, your pre-production isn't in place, and you're constantly stumbling over yourself, and you're putting pieces, you're kind of finishing pieces before you've seen how they all work together. And we had a really impacted schedule on 9, so that was definitely something that I'm more wary of, and trying to make sure that we have proper pre-production time. And you grow from these experiences, and these are big life-changing experiences. It takes a lot. I mean, many can speak to this too. It takes every ounce of your concerted effort and energy to make one of these feature films, especially an animated feature film, if you're like the only director on it. So, a lot of that just becomes ingrained in you. You develop different working methodologies, and so by the end of the film, you sort of realize the best way to make that film. But at that point, it's too late. The film is done. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So at least this way, I'm going in, with that history and that experience behind me.
Oh, it sounds like you going in and running things. Hey, you get to work over there. You quit slacking. It's like you're going to go in and just from what you learned before, it sounds like you just learned how to just probably, and everybody does this, I guess, when they're working on a big production. You just learn how to work with a large group of people a little bit better, how to organize.
Yeah, that, and it really is, making a short film on yourself or with a small group of students, it really is a different endeavor than making a much larger feature film. And it's much more a collaborative endeavor. And so you just have to make sure that you've got the right people that are on your team, and you really have to trust those people, because you're giving a lot of responsibility over those people, and it's learning how to work with people and trust people and give them the support that they need so that they can be the best at their jobs too. And all that stuff comes with the experience of doing these films. So
well, real quick, I mean, I said that was going to be the last question, but that leads me to ask you something. Being that you worked on a short film and then you had to work with a large group of people, I know you said that you learned some things from those people, but do you think that some of it was probably, I guess, you having trouble letting go of whatever it is that you were working on, like your idea, and trusting people? You just said you had to trust people to work on it. So was it hard to let go of any ideas that you had to just hand it over to some other people to work on too?
Yeah, that is hard. I mean, yeah, it's when if you do a short film and you do most of it yourself, it is hard to kind of let go of all that. That was something that in the early days of 9 that I struggle with, and then but it doesn't take long before you realize that the people that you're working with are going to do a better job than you are going to do, and you don't have the time to do it, and you really warm up to the collaborative nature, and then it becomes a different thing. It's not really managing people. It's sort of letting them know the direction to go in and how you think, and posing the right problems to them to solve, and then supporting them the best you can as they solve it. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So it's not so much about dictating and managing and you do this and you do that. It's like, well, here's the problem that I'm struggling with, and here's where I would start to solve it, and these are the kinds of things this is my instinct where I would go, and then you give that to them, and you give them support, and you let them go and solve it, And they're always going to come back with something that you didn't expect, and 90% of the time it's going to be better and go beyond your expectations. So it's what makes it really, really exciting.
Oh, okay. Minnie, I have to tell you, I did not know that you were responsible for Battle for Terra. This is no bullshit. I really liked that film a lot. Surprisingly, that movie actually kind of moved me a little bit. I'm serious, it like choked me up.
Glad to hear that.
And I'm a man. I don't tell that to everybody, Don't you tell that to anybody. But
that was a bit of a hope at the end of the film. It's true, just to get a little bit of a catharsis with the main character and her relationship and the loss of her human friend. So yeah, appreciate that.
No, and that leads me to ask you now. The movie, and this is not don't take this the wrong way, but it appeared that the movie didn't have a huge budget. I mean, your character designs or
no, it did not. It did not. It had essentially a DVD budget. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, and so that was kind of the responsible for having the sort of simpler character designs in the movie.
Yeah, that was absolute necessity to have the movie be completed, on budget and on time.
All right, so. Couple of things here. Would you have rather this gone to DVD than a theatrical release, or were you satisfied with that? And for any kind of future projects, I mean, do you want you to have your films look a little more slick or a little more not as simplistic as that? I mean, do you think that hurt the film at all?
Well, of course. I mean, obviously, I would prefer to have things go to feature, and I was really thrilled when Terra was actually picked up to go to a feature film, because it was, I was operating thinking that it would probably just end up being on DVD, and it was a thrill that it actually got released in the theaters. So that was a fantastic experience for me, and it's the first step. What's really amazing about the experience with Terra and the fact that I'm so grateful that I was able to get a film made is that most films do not get distribution. Most films are never seen. The vast majority of films, there's tens of thousands of them made every year, just never see the light of day. They don't even get into festivals, and this one got a feature release. So that was just a thrill in itself. And for me, I see Terra as the first step. And I've learned a lot from the film, making the film, and one of them is, absolutely, first of all, I had no idea it would have gotten a theatrical release, but I know now of the multitude of things I've learned from making my first feature is that, try and make as a polished and as a, technically sophisticated product as you would, in addition to, of course, the most important thing, which is story.
Nice. Well, I just want to congratulate you two on the success that you've had so far. I think you're both amazing artists, and I can't wait to see the short when it's completed. So we've been talking with Shane Acker, and now the way you say your name is Aristomenis. Is that how you say that?
It's Aristomenis Tsirbas, but many for short.
I'm just going to say many. How about that?
That's fine.
Okay. And I really thank you for taking out the time to talk to me. I appreciate that.
You're
my pleasure.
It was a lot of fun. Thanks very much for having us.
All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.